This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome back to the Special Chronicles Podcast. I'm your host and founder of Special Chronicles and a former Southern Tribal Global Messenger of Special Olympics. And today we're bringing you a conversation that goes straight to the heart of our mission of giving respect and voice to people with special needs through the media. Our guest is Amanda Harrinauth, a Special Olympics athlete, leader, a poet, a two-time recipient of City Proclamation for dedication to Special Olympics, and a two-time guest on the Special Chronicles podcast. She's joining us to talk about the global Spread the Word campaign and this year's theme, Words Matter. Amanda recently wrote a powerful article and a poem titled What I Learned from the Kids of Classroom 111, turning the R word into the word respect. In it, she shares her personal journey from hearing the R word as a middle school student to studying its harmful impact in college, to becoming a Special Olympics athlete and leader who uses her voice to educate, empower, and inspire change. Her story is honest, emotional, and deeply important, and today she's here to help us understand why the words we choose can either tear people down or lift them up. And we hope you all will take the pledge to spread the word. We'll let you know how you can do that at the end of the program today. For full show notes, to stream more episodes on demand, and to subscribe to the Special Chronicles podcast, visit specialchronicles.com, where you can listen anytime, anywhere, your favorite podcast out. Now let's put your hands together as we welcome Amanda back on Special Chronicles. Welcome back, Amanda. Well, we're sort of in the same studio here.
Kind of,
yeah. It's good to have you, Amanda, back on the program. And just like our Special Olympics chairman, Tim Shriver, who also has been a two-time guest on this podcast. So you're joining along with Tim in being a two-time guest. I'm sure we've got a lot of new listeners, because I probably should have looked up on the last time that you were on, and I forgot when last time. But if our listeners go on specialchronicles.com, you can find when the last time that you were on.
it was during the pandemic.
It was during the pandemic? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's been quite maybe 5-6 years ago. But for I'm sure we've got a lot of new listeners that are just meeting you for the first time. So introduce yourself. I should say we introduce yourself to our listeners who may not have heard you the first time that
Absolutely.
you were on.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Harrinauth. I have been an athlete with Special Olympics for the past 7-8 years. I believe it's been 8 years for athleticism, 7 years for athlete leadership, which is very, very important to me, but we will get into that conversation a little bit later. I am a poet, and I really just love sharing my voice through the power of words, because words matter, and words can either hurt or help individuals along on this life journey.
Absolutely. And speaking of the R word, you wrote a powerful article and a poem about your experiences with the R word. Can you take us back to when you first heard the R word being used and how it made you feel?
Yeah, I absolutely can. So I was in middle school. And during the time in middle school, kids in my class would throw around the R word, and they would use this particular word. They would use this particular word to describe what was. They would use this particular word to describe what was occurring in everyday lives, and unfortunately, without respect to knowing that people with intellectual disabilities are really going through these challenges and these problems. When you heard the R word at that time, people would use the R word and then they would laugh, or people would use the R word and then they would snicker, and then they would go on and they would make jokes. And I one day I ended up just going home and I asked my parents, I said, I keep hearing this word and it is unfair. But I said, what does it mean? And my parents told me, what it meant. And I was like, wow, that's mean. That's rude. That's cruel. And nobody should ever be called that.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And in your article, you describe the hierarchy that you notice in special education classes. What did that teach you about how society views disability?
It taught me that the hierarchy that we have when it comes to people with intellectual disabilities, or people with disabilities in general, is that it's wrong to look at somebody and just assume if they are a wheelchair user that they are any less valuable than anybody else, or if they're perhaps a person with a speech delay, that their voice doesn't deserve to be heard. Or you have several people saying, well, you have autism, but your autism is unlike Johnny's autism. Johnny's autism is very different. And that's typically a reference to, because Johnny is nonverbal, that he is of less value. And I'm thinking about this and I said, you can have this target on your back based on the type of disability you have. I mean, it's unfair. I mean, last time I checked, my autism is still autism, and it shouldn't be any more valued or any less valued than anybody else's.
Absolutely. And you write so beautifully about the students in room 111. What did they teach you about kindness, patience, and respect, and in such a difficult time? Well, let's start with that, and then we'll move on after that. But what did that, what in what you wrote about the students in room 111, what did that interaction teach you about kindness, about patience, and respect?
Yeah, it taught me to be very human in your experiences, very open to the hugs, the smiles at the most basic level. Be not afraid to hug someone. Be not afraid to give this person a smile. To many people, it seems very, very basic. But I think this is really what the heart of the world should be. Hi, hello, my name is. We can get into all this other, nonsensical things that we fight about in the everyday world. We can do that later. But what these students taught me was, at the very basic level, give a smile every day, do the best that you can, and just give somebody a hug. Very, very basic.
Yeah. It's awesome that you started at just a very basic level of interacting with the students, and in such a difficult time. What keeps you going in this moment? In preparing for a time together, you told me that it has to do with your faith. So what in such a difficult time, what can you, is it your faith that keeps you going, or in such a difficult time, what keeps you going?
Yeah. So there are two things that really keep me going. The first thing would be my faith, my love for Jesus Christ, knowing to me that he is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the one and only that I look to for strength and love and wisdom. And actually in Colossians, the book of Colossians 3:14, it says, "Love binds us together in the perfect unity," which I think is perfect scripture for what we are talking about. Even in Special Olympics, because Special Olympics talks a lot about togetherness, love, unity, uniting these barriers that try to keep us apart and try to isolate us with disabilities from the rest of the world. But here in the scripture that I just quoted is speaking of love and unity coming together.
Awesome. Yeah. Really powerful. Is there anything else, whether it's about your faith or that keeps you going in this moment? Or?
Yeah. I don't. You may have heard my dogs barking a little bit ago, but two really playful Chihuahuas, Jasmine and Elsa. They are named after the Disney princesses. So we've got Queen Elsa and Princess Jasmine. They keep me going. And I think that there is, of course, no greater love than that of Jesus Christ. But secondly, there's no greater love than that of the love and companionship from a dog. And yeah. I think that dogs, in my case, are just rooted in love and companionship.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and whether somebody might have a dog or a cat, that companionship can also help if somebody is whether you're having a difficult day or a difficult time, to have some type of pet or animal companionship can help somebody get through a difficult time.
Support, yeah. Just it's support, and the thing is that typically what we love about these animals is they don't talk back, they don't argue with you. Oftentimes they don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
So when the rest of the world mistreats you, an animal will always treat you with love and respect.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm sure for a lot of our listeners, whether they've been bullied or called the L word, if they have a dog or a pet, they too, I'm sure, have found what you have found with your two dogs. That same type of companionship, and it's neat how we're able to have that special bond with a pet. I know my one of my sisters has a cat, so and that same type of companionship that they have is really really powerful to have, and is a perfect connection to what we're talking about on this episode, which is about spread the word and about the R word. And so now as we move into talking about the harm of the R word, you quote the Alk Monroe blog saying the R word is hate speech and it's a slow against people with intellectual disabilities. Why is it important for people to understand that?
Because, this isn't, the 1950s, the 1960s anymore, where at one point this type of terminology could have been, acceptable. Perhaps during those times, those were the only words that were available to describe these unique challenges. But now, where we have this vast majority of words that we can use to describe these various things that are going on in the various people that we interact with, I think at this point there should be other words that we can use to describe certain actions. And I think that's really where the R word comes from, even though we may not necessarily use it in a way that is harmful. We can see it as something that is funny, or this person tripped and fell, so you're going to go ahead and say, oh, this person is being stupid because they tripped and fell. That is not true. We can use other things to go ahead and describe certain actions that people do, and people use it. We don't have to use the R word. Why should we use something that is demeaning and harmful to describe an action when this person could have just made, honestly, a silly mistake, or like I like to say, just being corny.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Many people say that they use the R word as a joke. What do you want to tell them to understand about the real impact? I know a lot of times if I'm speaking and I tell people, share a story from my past about hearing the R word and how it affected. Like there was a time in middle school that I was standing in at the looking at the honor roll list at school, and some kids at my school didn't see that I was behind them, and they didn't realize that it was what they're saying really affected me for many after that. So when people say that they use the award as a joke, what do you want to tell them to understand about the real impact that particular award is having?
Yeah. I think once again it goes back to the basics, that using the R word, whether it's meant to be in a joking manner, a humorous manner, it's not fair. The R word is not meant to be funny, even if you go back to the context that it was originally designed for in medicine. I don't think this was meant to be, this was not meant to be funny. And the R word should be treated just like any other slur, and it should not be used. We need to be very mindful and remember that the words that we use can affect everybody. It can also offend everybody. You don't need to, have an intellectual disability yourself to be offended by hearing that terminology. You can have brothers and sisters, you can have cousins, you can have people just that in your neighborhood who have intellectual disabilities, and by using that word, you don't realize who you're offending, even if it's not you personally or your friend that you're talking to. we just don't know. It takes me back to years ago when I was working on the I was working in a military base, and I was on a break, and one of the other coworkers uses the R word, and I stopped her and I said, "Hey, I said you're talking about people like me." I said, "Don't forget that this is a place where we employ people with disabilities." And I said, "You're talking about people like me." And she looks at me and says, "Oh my gosh, Amanda, I'm so sorry." She's like, I should be so mindful of that because my brother has, she didn't use the word intellectual disability, but she said my younger brother has special needs. And to me, that was a powerful moment. And you can see that she definitely had it on her mind when I was just simply just telling her, you're talking about people like me. For her to realize that she was also speaking of her brother.
Yeah.
I think it was a light bulb moment for her.
Awesome. Yeah. Powerful. You shared a powerful moment from your college thesis presentation where you handed out name tags with slows. What did that? Can you talk to us a little bit about that exercise and what that revealed about how words can wound?
Yeah. So in 2014, in my college days, we had to design a project based on whatever our majors were. I wanted to be a special education teacher. And I said, I'm going to set things up as if it's the first day of class. And the students in the class, they're actually going to participate in my presentation. So I'm going to give everybody name tags like they did in kindergarten, first grade, and all that stuff. So I bought these adhesive name tags that says, "Hello, my name is," you write your name in. I had everything pre-labeled with every last derogatory slur. At that time to describe somebody with a disability. And I handed out these name tags. Well, you know what? Now that I think about it, I actually asked them what their actual names were. And I did that on purpose. I felt like I could play that off a little bit into my presentation because I'm also vision impaired. So I didn't necessarily always know who was talking to me in the first place. So I knew that I could use that to my advantage. And the student tells me what his actual name was. And I aggressively hand him a name tag and says, "No, your name is idiot. Your name is wheelchair bound. Your name is, just slowpoke. Just all of these derogatory things that nobody ever wants to be called." And the room is absolutely silent at that time. And then I said, you guys are so rude. None of you guys asked me what my name was. And, in unison, the entire room asked, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name is the R word." And then I stick the label upon myself. The impact of that exercise was radio silence in the beginning, as well as tears. Because I called my classmates out asking them, "What do you feel right now in this moment?" A lot of them didn't know. And then, as I'm continuing the exercise, I hear, crying as two ladies with their name tags still on just begin to cry. The reasons that they're crying is because they have people in their family who have also been offended by this terminology. And I think in that moment, it was not just teaching myself nor those two ladies who were going through the personal experiences. It was teaching the rest of the room. This is what we experience on a daily basis when the R word is used. But it's not just the R word, it's any of these words that we used. Even something such offensive as wheelchair bound versus the term wheelchair user. You see what that sounds like?
Yeah.
So,
Powerful. You mentioned that some classmates cried during your presentation. What did that moment teach you about empathy?
It taught me to be open to what the other people are feeling. We need to remember that everybody has their own story to tell. The reason why we're here is to tell our own stories, and sometimes you just need that push in order to tell the story in a way that is going to not only make sense to you, but make sense to the rest of the world.
Awesome. As we move into some influences and leadership, you had a relationship with a disability rights icon, Judy Heumann. Last year, I think on this episode, we featured a talk that she gave. We got permission from a local radio program and station to share that talk on this program. But what did Judy teach you about language, dignity, and advocacy?
She taught me honestly to never give up, to continue the fight. And just because we've made it so far, and in many cases we have so much more to do. I think, as we've said before already, language is very important. We need to be aware of the language that we use. We need to be aware of the fact that not everybody is going to be open to using updated language and updated terminology. She taught me a lot about never giving up. She taught me a lot of just ways to cope when you are feeling so discouraged by a movement that has earned so much respect, but also realizing that not everybody is going to give you the respect that this movement has earned. It's a fight. It's an ongoing fight. I remember after she passed away, which was a devastating time for me personally. I remember getting several messages from local activists in my area, and they were specifically saying that what are you going to do to continue this legacy and this message and this mission that she started? It's all up to you. And I just remember feeling this tremendous weight of grief and this tremendous weight of, how am I going to continue to contribute to a legacy that she started so many years ago, and also let her know that although this is hard, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to do anything other than advance this movement forward, because that's what she would want. And that's personally one of the things that I feel that I was placed on earth for, to contribute to a legacy that will be around for years to come.
Awesome. I love that. And for many of us in in Special Olympics, whether like from myself, whether it's competing in basketball or bocce, or even in athlete leadership at the local level, or even from my time as a Southern Shriver Global Messenger, Special Olympics and athlete leadership shapes our voice, shapes the mission that we have. So how did joining Special Olympics for yourself in 2018 and then becoming an athlete leader in 2019 shape your voice and shape your mission?
Yeah, great question. I think in 2018, I was really in I guess kind of a low place where I just didn't want to do, much of anything. I was having struggles with my vision at that time that required surgery. And I really just didn't want to do anything at that time. I just wanted to just be left alone. But my parents were pretty instrumental in, come on, we need to try this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got dressed and went to the local high school and sat in the bleachers, and that changed everything. And that changed everything when I heard the athlete oath. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. And I was like, whoa. I was like, when and how do I get to say that? What do I have to do? So I was laser focused on becoming an athlete leader, but wasn't exactly sure at that time how to do it. I was at my bowling tournament, and I want to say that some folks overheard me, and then my name just kind of spread around, and next thing you know, I got connected to Tyler, who runs our athlete leadership program here in Northern California, and got enrolled in the classes for it in July. And I don't want to say the rest is history, because that's not true. The rest is ongoing. And that is such a wonderful thing, from that athlete leadership class to giving the toast at the White House in 2024. I mean, we don't know how far we can go in Special Olympics until we are willing to just give it a try.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You said you traded academic papers for heartfelt poems. How does poetry, and for those of you just listening to us on audio, go check out the video on YouTube, and you'll see underneath Amanda's name, it says athlete leader and poet. So how does, and I think the last time that we were on, we focused a lot more on the poetry part of your story. So how does poetry help you tell the truth in a different way?
I think it's because poetry is so honest, and it's allowed to be honest. From the various poets that I've read, from Rupi Kaur to Maya Angelou to many others, I've never seen them hold back from who they are, and the struggles that they face. So I said, okay, you know what? Then I'm gonna be 100% honest in the things that I write. And a lot of people actually don't know this, but I actually started writing poetry before I joined Special Olympics. So this was really fun. So the first poem I actually wrote dedicated to the Special Olympics was actually a poem called Northern California Pride. And, you know, just speaking of the pride of being an athlete in Northern California. So it was, you know, a beautiful moment witnessing and realizing that I can combine my love of athlete leadership and my love of being a poet, and these things can merge together and give me an even stronger love and an even stronger focus for what I do as an athlete leader.
Awesome. And as we now dive into one of the main focuses for Helping You On, which is the Spread the Word campaign, and this year's theme is Words Matter. Share with us, what does that mean to you personally with this theme of that words matter? I think a lot of us, when we talk about this Spread the Word campaign, it's really about that the all word, that the word we touted is hopeful and harmful, and it's even now today it's popping up now more. So what does this year's theme of Words Matter mean to you personally?
That I think I, you know, touched on a little bit earlier, that the words that you use can either be helpful or harmful. They can either lift you up or tear you down. And we talked about it earlier, like, even if it is meant as a joke, it's not funny to discriminate against others because of, you know, certain challenges and certain differences. I know that, you know, comedians get paid to make fun of people in everyday life, and maybe that works for some people and maybe it doesn't. There are a couple of comedians that I follow with disabilities, and they have a great time making fun of themselves for their disabilities, and that's great. If that is the type of sense of humor that you have, then that's great, because one of the best things, I guess, that you can do if it helps you is to make fun of yourself before somebody else does it.
Yeah.
But not everybody feels that way. I became very, very comfortable in college making fun of myself for being vision impaired, legally blind. But the one thing that I never would see myself getting comfortable with was making jokes, even if it is at my own expense, for being on the autism spectrum. And I say that because there are too many people who make fun of other autistic children and adults, and it hurts. It hurts, and it hurts a lot, you know, because this world was not built for this world was not built in a way for everybody's disability to be seen in good fun. And that's not the point. We should not be making fun of people with disabilities. Yes, 1-2 things, you will find people who are confident in their disabilities. But even if you don't want somebody to make fun of you for, you know, your autism or whatever it is, that's okay too. It does not have to be a joke to everybody. If you can find the humor in your disability, that's great. But if also you can find that it's a little harmful to say certain things about certain people's disabilities, including your own, that's okay too. There is no right or wrong answer. It's what you are personally comfortable with. Yeah,
absolutely. We hope many of you listening out there will go and take the pledge. Spreadtheword.global, I believe, is the place to go. We also put up an easy link for you, specialchronicles.com/pledge. That will take you to where you can take the pledge. Why is it important for people, students, teachers, families, coworkers, to take the pledge, to go on over to spreadtheword.global and to take the pledge? For those of you watching, I put it up on the screen. We'll put a link in the show notes. Wherever you're listening, you can look down. Well, if you're driving, maybe do it safely, but you can look down in the show notes for this episode in the description to where you can take the pledge. But why is it so important for people to take the pledge?
It's important for people to take the pledge because you're going to be contributing to the millions of voices who refuse to use a word that is going to be inherently harmful to those people around them. My pastor was talking couple of weeks ago, several weeks ago, and he said at the end of his sermon, and I hope after this you guys are a little less ignorant than when you guys came in. I think using outdated terminology, it is absolutely ignorant, and we're not trying to spread ignorance, we're trying to spread love, right? We're trying to spread acceptance, we are trying to spread joy and light in this world. So I agree with my pastor. We need to be a little less ignorant. So I think by taking the pledge to update our vocabularies and find other kinder ways to express ourselves and express the things that happen to us, that's why we should take the pledge. Because, when you know better, you do better. And when you do better, it contributes to a better world.
Absolutely. And we talked about earlier about how the our world is harmful towards people like you and me and the many other Special Olympics athletes across the country, across the globe. What are some respectful alternatives that people can use instead of the R word?
Yeah. Words like silly, like, oh, that was a silly thing to do. My favorite word personally is using the word corny. That was just corny. That was just, I'm not even, I think the more that I think about this, I'm not even really comfortable using the word, dumb or stupid, because those things really hurt. And you can look at those terms as ways to open it up to, well, if you can use the word dumb, you can use the word stupid. If you can use the word stupid, then you can use the R word. Another term that I would use is, oh, that's ridiculous. So the words are out there. We just need to find them, and we need to put them in our memory banks. But the R word, to me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's just like that annoying sound that will just never go away, and it stays stuck in your head because it's irritating and it's degrading.
Yeah, and I think a big part for our listeners is to think about how the words that they say affect people, and how can our listeners be better allies in everyday conversations? I'm sure this is somebody listening might hear the L word and they might not want to speak up. But how can you maybe share some advice to our listeners on how they can be better allies in everyday conversations?
Yeah, going back to what I was saying to my former coworker, I very gently said to her, "Hey, you're offending. You could be offending people like me. I'm not yelling. I'm not using any profanity when I have this conversation. So we're not saying that it needs to be a heated issue. It could just be a simple, hey, that's not a very nice word to use. Simple."
Yeah. It's neat that it's just simple ways of interacting with people that can make a big difference. Now moving on to the letter, already the poem that you wrote, and listeners, you can keep listening to the end of this episode to hear Amanda share that poem. So don't miss the end of this episode. But what do you hope people feel when they hear those words? When they hear the words that you are sharing in this poem, what do you hope that people will feel?
I hope that they feel a range of emotions. I want there to be happiness. I want there to be grief. I want there to be joy. I want there to be a feeling of strength. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about poetry, is that you're allowed to feel a wide range of emotions, and you're allowed to feel a wide range of I don't want to say grievances, but if you need to feel grief, then you're allowed to feel that too. Because I think part of this movement is also dealing with the grief that many people before us have had to face, because people in the past have been incredibly ignorant. Mm-hmm. So to me, poetry has no right or wrong answer for what it is that you are allowed to feel. So in terms of listeners and watchers, you're allowed to feel however you wish and you want. If you feel some anger rising within you, because the fact that we are still having this conversation in 2026, that would anger some people. That would discourage some people. But at the same time, that would make other individuals also feel happy, because of look at how far we have come in this movement. And we just continue to grow, and we continue to progress, and we continue to develop new ideas on how to move this world forward in a way that's going to include all of us.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, what does a world without the R word, without the word retarded, look like to you?
It looks like joy, positivity, happiness. But as we already know, that this world is not perfect. We are only in control of ourselves and what leaves our lips. But I also think that it's important, good or bad, we also need to own the words that we use. I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel, and that's okay. But I don't have to agree with you. Yeah. If it's negative, chances are I'm not going to agree with you. And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Witty powerful, yeah, that people don't necessarily have to agree, but the fact that you're sharing how it's affected you, how this would affect so many people, can make a big difference in at least taking a small step into changing their mindset towards how they can include in the words that they take. As we move into some closing reflections in this final segment, before we let you get back to the rest of your day, what message do you hope, or that you want every listener today to walk away with?
Choose kindness. Choose love above all. Choose friendship. Choose to include everybody. I think Special Olympics has the hashtag, is it choose to include?
Yeah. Choose to include.
Yeah, choose to include. Choose to include everybody. Choose to include, that little boy that's sitting alone at the lunch table. I've been there before. I have been that child. Nobody is ever invited me to come sit with them, or if they have invited me to come sit with them, it was just so they can ignore me and look and see and act as if I was being included, but I really wasn't.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, powerful. So we hope all of you listening can go over to spreadtheword.global, take the pledge. If you want an easy link to help you do that, specialchronicles.com/pledge. We'll take you right there. And how can the listeners follow your work, follow your writing, your poetry, your advocacy? How can the listeners follow your work?
Yeah. So visit poetmandy.com. That has all of my information, my poems, former interviews, all the things for you guys to go ahead and connect with me.
Awesome.
Also, general Google search. That's typically how people find my work. Just in Google. Awesome. So before we get to the final question, do you have any? Just know you're a two-time guest, just like our Special Olympics chairman Tim Shriver being a two-time guest. So, do you have any final thoughts on your overall time here today on the Special Chronicles podcast that you'd like to share with our listeners? Yeah. I just have a couple final reflections on the R word. So here we go. Dear R word. Dear R word, you are harmful and demeaning, in spite of all of your scheming to make a comeback. You are not welcome here. You see, we got rid of you for a time, yet you keep trying to return with absolutely no respect in your heart for how you make others feel. You move forward with fierce vengeance, cutting the tongues of those who choose to listen, creating an opening to the ears of those who receive it. Dear R word, the less we cheer you on, the less popular you become. You spew ignorance and pain. Maybe at one point it was okay for you to make an appearance, but with knowledge comes great power. And now it's time to shower and educate those around us about why you are not allowed in our space. Dear R word, it's time to hit the road. Millions of voices in the Special Olympics say it's time to go back home to your outdated medical textbooks. That is where you belong. Spread the word. You are the ultimate poison. Leave. Goodbye. Hasta luego. Please be on your way. Sincerely, Amanda, a strong voice in the Special Olympics movement. Thank you.
Awesome. That poem was a powerful way to wrap up this episode. I mean, it defined what you're trying to share with spread the word about the R word, and I'm sure it will leave all our listeners with powerful way to wrap up this episode. And thank you again for sharing that poem with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me on. I truly appreciate it, and hope I can do this again.
Yeah. Anytime you're welcome to come back on the program. You're always welcome to come back on. You know how to get in touch with me. So thank you again. Our guest has been Amanda. We've been talking about spread the word to inclusion. Amanda, thank you for sharing your story, your leadership, and your heart with all of us. Your voice reminds the world that words matter and that respect is something we all that we all deserve. And to everyone listening, we hope you all can take the pledge to choose respectful language at spreadtheword.global, and you can continue learning from advocates like Amanda by listening, reading, and standing up for inclusion in your own communities. For full show notes and to stream more episodes on demand and to subscribe to the Special Chronicles podcast, visit specialchronicles.com. You can listen anytime, anywhere on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, we'll see you all next week on the next episode. Choose respect, choose inclusion, and remember that words matter. And as Amanda said earlier, choose to include. We'll see you all on the next episode. Until next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.